strategist Frank Luntz. Frank, thanks so much for joining us. I always love having you on because I learn a lot from what you're learning from just talking to so many voters. And I wonder if you'll just start us off with where you see and what you're hearing about this moment in this race.
I take this very seriously, and I'm actually prepared for this segment. And some of the things, half the people are going to be angry at half the things that I say. The issue agenda is set. It is going to be, and it's not the economy, it's affordability, it's prices, it's costs. That and inflation are the two key issues. Those are going to drive this last 23 days. And frankly, Donald Trump has the advantage on both. And on immigration, the reason why he wants to talk about immigration is because the current president, President Biden and Vice President Harris, seem so weak on the issue. I will raise this point carefully, that to the average American, calling for the death penalty for someone who's here illegally, killing a cop, is not insane. It's not abusive. It's exactly what the left, the center, and the right would call for. That Trump, and I realize that he's gone off the rails in some of his statements, and you can replay them to your viewers right now. But there's a reason why he's going up, and that he's recovering after one of the worst debate performances in modern history.
Wow, 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 folks. Frank Luntz just doesn't get it. He never has. I don't know if he ever will. He flip-flops so much. I mean, let's just take some of these things one by one. First, he talks about that the rhetoric that Trump uses. And he was absolutely, sometimes he does have these pearls that do drop in his assessment. But then sometimes the same pearl that he drops today, tomorrow that same pearl changes. I have no idea why. But as he says, when Donald Trump says, you kill an American citizen, you kill a police officer, the death penalty is warranted once you're convicted of that crime. And that resonates with everybody, should resonate with everybody. But there are some people on the left, there would be progressives, there would be socialist Marxists that says, no, that's too cruel. You can't have the death penalty. That's racist. It's bigotry. You're against illegal aliens. No, you're not. That's what Americans want. You kill an American citizen. You murder a cop or anybody that's working for the federal government, any first responder. It's just a blanket statement. Any U.S. citizen, doesn't matter what you are, whether you're, a first responder, you're a cop, you're a patrolman, you're an officer, whatever, it doesn't matter. You should have the death penalty automatically on you. And then he goes on to say about the debate, that same stupid bullshit narrative. That Donald Trump, one of the worst debate performances. Frank, you don't have a freaking clue. Don't even have a freaking clue, for God's sakes, man. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's right there in front of your eyes, Frank. You can see it, but you don't. You can hear it, but you don't. Did you see the focus groups afterwards? Did you see the independents on those dial groups? You do dial groups all the time, Frank. But you did. Where were your dial groups of independents after the debate? Oh, I don't know if you had any. Or did you fudge the results? Or didn't you just like the results just because of the narrative? Every freaking dial group had the independents intertwined with the Republicans. When Trump was speaking, they were intertwined. They were going up. Diametric lines. When Kamala was speaking, they were intertwined with the Republicans. They didn't like what she was saying. And yet your narrative is that it was one of the worst debate performances ever. That's just bullshit. It is pure bullshit. Anyways, let's continue and see what else Frank has to say about this.
For her campaign, and I understand why Democrats are getting frustrated, because there are key groups right now, Latinos, young African American men, and union members that are traditionally with the Democrats that aren't in this campaign right now.
And on that note, Frank, we've seen recent polls showing Harris's support among black men is lower than certainly where Biden was. I know you hosted a focus group with black men who are supporting Trump. I want to play a clip from that.
The reason why I'm voting for Donald Trump is because simply I want to make America great again. I think the last 4 years,
there you go,
we have seen over-promising without a plan. What I watched on the debate stage were a lot of lofty goals from a Democratic candidate who's been vice president of the United States for 3 years and 8 months, and nothing that she proposed, she or spoke on, she had a plan attached.
That's so interesting, Frank. Give us some more context around that conversation you had.
It's not that they're pro-Republican, because they aren't.
No, that's absolutely not true, Frank. They absolutely have switched over. They are pro-Republican. They're anti-Democrat. That's why they're voting for Trump. What do you think, that they're Democrat and voting for Trump? I mean, I'll take that moniker, but that's not true at all. That is an absolute wrong assessment. Wrong, completely wrong, Frank. You just don't get it. You just don't get it.
Donald Trump reaches them in a personal and a human way. They feel victimized by the federal government. They feel like they're attacked or even persecuted for being black men. And they believe that Donald Trump understands their plight more than Harris does.
On this, yes, now Frank is coming back to reality, but then he goes in and out of reality and delusion so often.
This challenge, this economic challenge, this social challenge, this racial challenge, they see more in Trump's language and his willingness to fight and beat the system. They see more in themselves in that fight than they do in Harris, because they see her as representing voters who maybe they don't work, maybe they're of a different gender, but it's not who they are. It's the same thing with union membership, where the rank and file absolutely are moving towards Trump at the same moment that the leadership are overwhelmingly, maybe 90%, endorsing Harris.
Why is that? Working class is going to Trump and the Republicans. It is becoming that party of the working class, the forgotten men and women. And where are the elites going, Frank? As they've always done, they're flocking to the Democratic side. Where do you think the union management is? Flocking to the Democrats. The union workers, the men and women that work with their hands, the muscle guys, they're going with Republicans and Trump. It's as simple as that, buddy.
Among Latino votes, you have that schism as well.
Yes.
It's not what he says about illegals, because if you're here legally, you agree with what Donald Trump is saying.
Yes.
I know this is blowing people's minds right now.
It's the
but I want
truth.
to emphasize that this looks to me just like Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016, where voters woke up the next day to a Trump presidency. Harris is miscalculated, she's miscalibrated, and it's causing damage to her campaign.
That miscalibration, that miscalculation has occurred since day freaking one. But the push polls and the honeymoon phase and the polls to get her propped up as if she really was in front and there was all this great movement, it was all a false narrative predicated on the mainstream media basically, what? Blowing up her balloon so that she's floating high with joy and bewilderment and wonderment and fulfillment and satisfaction. That's what was going on.
So we're 3 weeks out from Election Day. Early voting started in some places. It's about to start in others. Is there time to recalibrate?
No, there isn't.
Absolutely. The best example is when asked, does she have any differences with Joe Biden? She says no.
That's right.
The
She's an
first thing
idiot.
she should have said is, on the border, I do disagree. I do think that we've made some mistakes, and here's how we're going to correct them.
She's never going to say that.
She's not willing to do that. Hillary Clinton played it safe in the last 28 days of the election, not engaging with the press, not engaging with voters, and Harris is doing exactly the same thing, and it's going to have the same impact if she doesn't change that strategy.
And my other thought here is just, we talk a lot about persuadable voters, people that still could go back or forth. Some theories of the case are there really aren't many of those anymore. It's about turning out your voters at this point. But because she is in this unique position, Harris, being still so fresh in this race because of this wild...
Here's that narrative again, fresh. People know her on the Democratic side. She ran for president in 2020. She was in the debates in 2019. Everybody knows what she did that first debate. She absolutely destroyed Joe Biden. She decimated him. She called him a racist. Everybody was flocking to her. And then, right, blowing up her balloon. And then Tulsi Gabbard came in with a pin and did what? Pop! Balloon burst and down she fell. Because Tulsi Gabbard literally decimated her in the next debate. And then what happened? Gone from the scene. But people know who she is. They know that she's an idiot. That she has nothing. When you ask people on the street, name one thing Kamala has done. Other than that she's black, which she is not. Or that she's the first, female vice president. That's about it. Is that the only accomplishment they can name?
Campaign season we've had. It seems as if she's still defining herself to people. And Trump, as we just saw in that clip that Elena played leading in here, is still desperately trying to define her as well.
He's unplugged, for better or worse. He's speaking what he truly believes, for better or worse. And some voters, undecided voters, are turned off to that because they're turned off to that rhetoric. But he's actually speaking, I say this as clearly as I can.
Oh, clearly.
He's using language on prices and on immigration that the public responds to. It's not insane. It actually is a majority of Americans. And the Harris campaign so disagrees with it, so disagrees with the strategy and the policies that they are miscalibrated to how to win them over. And one last point, it really isn't the undecided right now. I accept that. Those people at 3 or 4% probably won't decide. They will probably stay home, or they'll vote for a third party or write someone in. The key now is turning out your partisans. She has the most incredible, intense support among young women, 18 to 30. But Trump's vote overall is damn well determined to vote. They will stand in line. They will do whatever it takes.
So true.
And even in that intensity, at this moment, he's got a very, very slight advantage.
A huge advantage.
And just before I let you go, I do want to touch on something that continues to bear out in a lot of this polling. And I would imagine, you'll tell me, in focus group as well, but this gender gap that we keep seeing show up again and again and again. What are your thoughts on that? And give us some nuance around it, beyond just there's a gender gap.
That is the question of this campaign. That's going to be what historians focus on. She has driven female vote to incredible levels, and particularly younger women. Trump has done the same for older men. So
not amongst black women, she hasn't. She's down 15 points from Hillary Clinton or more in terms of black women's support. So where is this? What are you talking about, Frank? Historic proportions. She's losing black women to Hillary Clinton. Even CNN reported that.
Have this conflict, and it is not just about issues. It really is about attributes. How Trump presents himself and how Harris presents herself. She is a role model for younger women. Trump is saying...
She's a role model? She slept her way to the top? She's called Horizontal Harris. She's a role model. She had affairs with married men. That's a role model you want to talk about for a female presidential candidate? That's what you're trying to talk about? Yeah, that's the face we're looking at there. There you go, Frankie.
And almost screaming exactly what older men feel. So this is going to be a problem. Here's the issue. I'm afraid that we're not going to know who won this election on election night, and we're not going to know the next night, and we're not going to know even the night after that. CNN and organizations like yours need to start now communicating to the American people exactly how they're going to cover the campaign if we don't know for days. Because in the end, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, those are the states that make up the election. 4 of those states probably won't have their votes counted for days. And the level of anger and division in this country is so high that we need to figure out how to deal with it now before the election happens.
Yeah, it's a good.
And there goes Frank, folks. There goes good old Frankie on his tangent. You know what? He's rolling the dice, making this claim. And if it does come true that it's going to take 2, 3, or 4 days, I called it. I called it ahead of time. And so, you know what? I give him some props for at least saying that out loud, that that's going to happen in his opinion. But if it doesn't, we can play this clip over and over again. And then he's going to say, yes, it was great that it was done early. It was all called in the day. And then this will just be in the dust heap of predictions. Do I think it's going to take more than a day? I don't think so at all. Because I've been saying, for example, that 2016, the narrative was from the mainstream media and the pundits like Frank Luntz, that it was Clinton victory, 90%. New York Times, 92% chance on the whatever that meter they had. It's over. She's won. Electoral landslide, over 400 electoral votes they were talking. Rachel Maddow was giddy. Remember, I think it was Granholm, Jennifer Granholm. She came on the morning with Michigan, literally giddy. They thought she might be on something. They were laughing that Michigan is being delivered to Trump, no problemos. And then in 2020, Biden is ahead. He's winning it all. He's up by 10. He's up by 17 in Wisconsin. He's up by 12 nationally. And he barely won because we know what the hell happened. The rigging, the additional votes that were allowed, the mail-in ballots, the absentee ballots, no chain of custody, drop them off as much as you want in any box. People drop it in ballots left and right. We all know what happened. Even with that, he barely won. But they were saying in the narrative was, hey, it's over. And now the narrative, they can't do that narrative now with Harris because the poll, they can't show that happening. But what can the narrative be? It's exactly what's going on right now. It's so close. It's 48-48. So she's at 49. Oops, it flipped. He's at 49. Oh, he's at 50. She's at 48. Oh, no, now she's at 50. He's at 49. That's what the narrative is. I don't believe the narrative. Didn't believe in 2016. Didn't believe in 2020. Have no reason to believe it in 2024. I believe the election will be called, if not on election night, election morning eventually. It's going to be an electoral landslide. Check out our other video links. I predict Trump's going to get 345. She's going to get 193. She's going to flip Virginia. She's going to flip Minnesota. She's going to flip New Mexico. She's going to flip he's going to flip Virginia. He's going to flip New Hampshire. He's going to flip New Mexico. He's going to flip Minnesota. He's going to flip Nebraska too. Now, even if he doesn't flip those, he's still above 300. He's at like 306 or 312. But he is going to take Arizona. He is going to take Nevada. he is going to take North Carolina and Georgia and Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin. All that's going to happen, folks. That's my prediction. Check out our other video links. We continue to put out our content. We appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow. You all know what to do. Take a look at our video links here and below. My final thought is always, when you're right, and when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.